Hey guys, I just wanted to talk real quick about Sony and their PC ports, which for the most part have actually been pretty great. I've streamed almost all of them. The only one that has kind of been shitty is Final Fantasy VII Remake, Intergrade, Super Edition, whatever the fuck you want to call it. That's the only one that's been a flaming pile of dog shit that I have played. I have not played Days Gone, but from all the benchmarks and stuff I've seen, it seems like it runs great. And I think it was a really good call to port Days Gone over. I've played Horizon, and it was pretty rocky at launch, but it has been remedied since. It runs great. I think that was a really good call to bring over to PC. And just recently, Uncharted 4 came out. Played that. A great port, but that's kind of the one I want to talk about. Obviously, I played God of War as well, and God of War was a really good port. But Uncharted 4 is what I want to talk about. And the reason why I want to talk about it, because I don't really know what the fuck Sony is thinking in porting Uncharted 4 and Lost Legacy over before the Nathan Drake collection, which is Uncharted 1, 2, and 3. And the reason why I want to talk about this is because Eddie and I were talking about this the other day, but according to this article here, Uncharted PC port has the lowest player count of any Sony game at launch. So Uncharted 4 has an all-time player count after its launch of 10,851, which is insanely low. It's lower than fucking Days Gone, which was at 27,000. God of War was at 73,000. Spider-Man 66,000, and 56,000 for Horizon. So you can see, like, even Days Gone, which Days Gone, I don't know why people like Days Gone. I genuinely think it is a bad game. I don't think it's a good game. The writing is very lazy. The amount of times you play that game and you count how many times they say son of a bitch. It has to be close to 1,000. I don't know, man. It's hundreds easily. Like, it is so fucking much. The writing is so bad. The main guy, I think is, I don't remember his name, but the main guy, I mean, I like the actor. He definitely, gives it his all, but there's only so much you can do with a fucking shit script like that. I get it if you just, I like open world motorcycle game with zombie. Okay, sure, very surface level, but I mean the mission structure is extremely repetitive. There's only like two hordes that are actually fun to fight. Everything else is just fucking boring, and clunky. But anyway, so if Days Gone, an actual fucking bad game, mediocre at best, is getting 27,000 players, then what the fuck is going on with Uncharted? Because Uncharted 4 is a very good game by any standards. Uh, really, really good. It's, for me, it's my least liked Uncharted. I mean, not counting Lost Legacy, I guess I would dislike that one more. But 1, 2, and 3, I definitely like way more than Uncharted 4. But Uncharted 4 is still a phenomenal game. So why on earth is it that it had a peak player count of less than half of Days Gone? 10,851 players. And I think the reason for that is because these ports don't really make any fucking sense, in my opinion. And I expect we'll see Sackboy Adventures probably right around the same low number of 10,000 or whatever. And that's because you don't need to bring everything from PC over, and the order in which you, or everything from PlayStation over to PC, and the order in which you do so is important, right? God of War, sure, that's the fourth game, fifth, sixth game. I think it's the sixth God of War, actually, maybe the seventh, counting like Ascension and like the mobile games. or not mobile, they were on PSP, but you know what I mean. But it's a reboot, right? It's a reboot of the series that you do not at all have to play the other games. And Uncharted 4 is not a reboot in any way, shape, or form. It is fucking Uncharted 4. It's like if they were to just release God of War 3. It's like you don't have to play the previous games, but you don't have to play Mass Effect 1 or 2 to play Mass Effect 3, but you're doing yourself a great disservice if you don't, right? It's sort of the same thing. I have no idea why they would release Uncharted 4, which is sort of like the end, right? I mean, the title is literally A Thief's End, but it's sort of the end of Nathan Drake's story, and it's a natural culmination of, 1 through 3. And I just don't understand why they would release this. It just doesn't make any sense. And as you can see, other PC players feel the exact same fucking way. Nobody has any idea why they're releasing this because nobody's playing it. I mean, 10,851 people. I mean, that's really not a lot, man. It's really, really not a lot. It's pretty disappointing, in fact. And the thing is, I don't want Sony, the idiots over at Sony, to be like, oh, well, this, sold poorly, so people don't want Sony games on PC. Like, that's obviously not the case. I mean, 66,000 people bought Spider-Man, and that was way fucking overpriced. I mean, we were paying, what was it, 50 or 60? I want to say it was 60 for a game that was several years old, man. Yeah, Spider-Man is 60. So we're paying $60 for a fucking old game, dude. It's remastered, Zach. It has the really shitty DLC, Zach. Yeah, whatever, dude. It was not worth 60. Like, with a game that old, it should have been 50. But 66,000 people still bought that. You know why? Because it's Spider-Man. It's a game that can just ride on its own coattails, right? It doesn't need anything else. Uncharted 4 is not that at all. Uncharted is a gamer series. Sure, it has a movie now, and honestly, more people probably know about the movie than the actual games. But it's not like a well-known thing on PC. Not like The Last of Us. Like The Last of Us, when that comes out, like imagine if they release Last of Us 2 instead of Last of Us Remake, right? First, they're like, yeah, because I have no idea, but I'm sure a Nathan Drake collection will eventually come to PC, right? 1 through 3. They would be idiots not to. But imagine if they're like, yeah, you'll get Last of Us 1 eventually, but here's Last of Us 2 for now. It's like, why would you do that? Why would you bring the end of a character's story to a brand new audience instead of the beginning of a character's story? It just doesn't make any fucking sense. And so I just kind of wanted to make this video to talk about this and talk about these numbers and talk about how I just genuinely don't know what the fuck Sony is doing. Sony is sitting on a bunch of games that would actually make so much sense to release on PC. We know Returnal is coming to PC. I mean, it's been leaked a million times. Actual gameplay has leaked of it, the PC version and everything, so we know it's coming. Returnal makes a lot of sense to come to PC, obviously, because the thing about Returnal is it's a roguelike. And if there's one thing that PC players absolutely love, it's a roguelike. I mean, the thing that could make or break it is going to be the pricing point, which, Eddie and I were talking about that as well, and he was saying that he could see it for 70. If they release Returnal for 70, it's going to have lower player numbers than Uncharted 4. It's going to be lower than 10,851. $60, they could do it, but I think $50 would be the smartest play because in the ballpark of roguelikes, you're not going to find a single one that's that expensive. I can't think of a single one that's expensive. You know, you think Binding of Isaac, you think I mean, I literally have a million roguelikes on Steam. No joke, dude. I have so many of these fucking games, and I think the most expensive one was like 20 something dollars. So, I think that if they tried to actually release those games or Returnal at 70, it's dead in the water. And I think that even 60 is a little bit of a close call. But like, let's take a look at some roguelikes here. So Rogue Legacy, right? $25 for the new one. Rogue Legacy 1, $15. Slay the Spire, 25. Dead Cells, 25. Crypt of the Necrodancer, 15. For the King, 20. Moonlighter, which is I guess it's a roguelike. I don't know if I agree with that one. 20. But you see my point, right? All of these games, even like Dead Cells, which is probably the most polished of them all, even that is only $25. So you kind of have to ask yourself, are they going to be able to get their foot in the fucking door of the PC market? Because whether you like it or not, the PC market is very stringent with their money, right? Final Fantasy VII, it's not listed on this, but Final Fantasy VII came out as an Epic Game Store exclusive, which is already like not a good idea. Let's be real. It's not a good idea. Still, a lot of people, I don't have a problem with the Epic Game Store, but a lot of people still do. They don't like exclusives, and that's totally within their right to think. And that game came out at $70. It was the first game on PC to be $70, and it flopped hard as fuck. Not only because it was a shitty port, but because it was $70, and PC players are just not about that life. Except if it's the new Call of Duty, apparently. That's the game that'll break, the camel's back. But, for me, I didn't buy it, and I didn't play it for a really long time. Not just because of the ports, but just because I'm not encouraging that $70 pricing practice. I'm really against it, personally. And so I just really hope that they are a little smarter with their releases. I mean, you have Demon Souls remake, right? That would be a great port. It would do extremely well. You have the biggest one, I would say, that at this time has kind of ascended to a mythical level that we may never, ever receive, and that's Bloodborne. I mean, Bloodborne would do insane numbers. I think Bloodborne would be more successful than God of War. God of War hit 73,000 players. I think Bloodborne would hit close to 100K if it was priced appropriately. And we don't even need a remaster of Bloodborne. I mean, I know the engine apparently has issues, but a lot of people have unlocked the game for 60 FPS. So you could literally just unlock the game for 60 FPS and fucking drop that. And it would sell so many copies. And how much money are they making off of Bloodborne today, right? Because when you're a business, it comes down to money. And if you have this IP that is just gathering dust and not making you any more money, why would you not make a shit ton of money off of it? Like, Bloodborne is not making them any more money today, realistically. I mean, maybe a couple of people will buy it a year, right? So it makes complete sense to release that on PC with the 60 FPS, and you get 100,000 sales. If you price the game right, you price it at $50, which a lot of people would even say $50 is too much because that is a really old game. And I'm talking about if they didn't do a remake or a remaster or anything, they're just dropping Bloodborne. But $50, I think people would still pay, and you'd get 100,000 sales easily. You'd have 100,000 out the gate. And of course, this is only talking players. All of these are only talking, peak players. We don't actually have sales figures for PC. But I did see that people were estimating that God of War sold 2 to 3 million copies. So we can kind of extrapolate from that information that if it had 73,000 peak players and it sold 2 to 3 million, then we can kind of assume that the actual peak concurrent players is a very, very small fraction of the people who purchased the game. And it's because people will play, at different times, at different days. Some people will play games and, like me, they'll play games and not get around to them for months. So I don't think that Uncharted 4 necessarily sold badly. I think it still sold better than, a lot of games that release. But I just don't think it's on the same level as these other ones because they started with Uncharted 4, which just doesn't make any fucking sense, to be honest. But and I just don't really know who it's marketed towards. Is it marketed towards people that have, like me, that have played it on PlayStation, but we're always like, man, I wish I could play this on mouse and keyboard, and now I get to play on mouse and keyboard, and it feels so much better? Is it marketed towards people on PC that have never played it? In which case, why would they want to start on the fourth game? Well, especially when there's so many great callbacks and your experience is just heightened so much by playing 1 through 3. Why would they want to start the series at 4? I just don't really understand the logic here. But overall, I'm happy that they are opening up to PC releases. I'm happy that the ports are mostly good. Like, if we just look at these games, Uncharted 4 is a fantastic port. It almost always runs at over 90 FPS with everything on ultra and enhanced in 1440p on a 2080 Ti. So, it's a great port. Don't get me wrong. Spider-Man it's an okay port. I think it's definitely has some problems, especially with swinging in the city. You're probably not even getting 60 FPS when you're swinging through the city if you have a lot of the settings up. But if you lower some settings and stuff like that, then you're fine. It runs fine. It's just like a weird CPU limited thing when you're swinging through the cities. Digital Foundry did a video on it, but it's a pretty okay port. Horizon, like I said, the port was pretty rough at the beginning, but if you play it now, it's actually in a much, much better place. There used to be tons of stutters, and a lot of the graphics options just harmed your FPS like crazy. Even if you had like a 2070 Super, which is what I had, you were struggling to get 60 in the game, which just doesn't make any sense for how old it is. Sure, they enhanced it a bit, but now it's good. It's in a great spot. Still not really my cup of tea as a video game, but I'm happy that, it got fixed eventually. God of War out the gate was a fucking phenomenal port. Looks fantastic. Looks better than the PlayStation version. It runs really, really well. I was just benchmarking it. Everything on Ultra, even on a 2070 Super in 1440p, was running average of 75 to 80 FPS in Alfheim, which is by far the hardest area to run in the entire game. So, just absolutely fantastic performance there for the PC version of that. So I don't know, man. I mean, and Days Gone, like I said, it's apparently a good port. I really didn't enjoy the game when I played through the entirety of it on PlayStation. So I don't know. Maybe one of these days I'll get it and try it just to see it on PC. It's always kind of fun to see that, but on games that you played in 30, But not my cup of tea. But it is a good port. People use it for benchmarks all the time, and it seems like it runs fairly well, above 60 on a lot of the ultra settings. So, Final Fantasy VII is really the only one that still to this day runs like shit. Like, it still runs bad. Luckily, there's mods that improve the performance substantially. But even on a 2080 Ti, running everything on its lowest graphical settings, which the low settings and the high settings look the exact same to me. I literally can't see a difference. But even running everything on the lowest settings on a 2080 Ti in 1440p, it's dropping well below 60 frequently. It won't even lock at 60. It's dropping significantly under. So I don't know, man. That one is rough. I don't know what the fuck they were doing with that port, but that is a fucking awful port. But the rest of the games, they're good ports. I'm hoping Returnal is going to be a great port as well. I don't know if I'll be playing that because just in a few days here when I get my PS5, I'm going to be playing it on PS5. But I really, really want these games to be good and I want Sony to be releasing them. It's just a problem with, I just don't really know. It seems like they're randomly fucking picking these games. You know what I mean? Like, none of the ones that actually make sense are coming over. Like Ratchet and Clank, that makes sense to come to PC. Absolutely makes sense because from my understanding, it's a pretty solid stand on your own game that you can play, right? Sackboy, I guess it makes sense. It's just I don't really think a lot of PC players care for those types of games, but okay. I mean, I guess it makes sense because why not? And maybe that's their logic behind it is, hey, why not? Right? It's just extra money. Why not release this? But if that is the case, if it's a why not basis, then why not do Uncharted Nathan Drake collection before Uncharted 4 and Lost Legacy? If it's just a why not and they're just porting whatever the fuck they can over to it, So I don't really understand. If it's a why not, why is Bloodborne not on here? Is it something with From Software? Because FromSoft, they love PC. I mean, their ports aren't usually great, but they do love PC, and PC is a huge player base for them. It's usually what keeps their games alive for so long. So I really doubt that FromSoft would have any issue with Bloodborne coming over or Demon Souls remake coming over, right? I just don't really understand what's stopping them from bringing the games that most people want. I mean, I'm really happy that they're actually even talking about PC on the time of release, like with the Last of Us remake. They said shortly after release, a PC version, which I think that game came out in September and now it's practically November. So they have a little bit of a different definition than shortly after than I do. But does that mean December? Does that mean January? Does that mean February? Fuck if I know, man. I don't know what shortly after means to good old Cuckman. But hey, man, I'm just happy that we're getting this shit on PC. And I'm happy that for the most part, it's running well. I just think that they need to be a little bit more careful in the order in which they're releasing shit. If it's something like a Sackboy, it doesn't fucking matter, obviously. But if it's something like Uncharted 4, it does. And the numbers clearly reflect that it does. So, that's going to do it for me. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a good one. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.